Let's start today by looking at what an inequation actually is. We know that an equation is just something that has an equal sign in it. So it makes sense that an inequation is something that is not equal, so it's going to have a greater than or a less than sign instead. And inequations have a solution, so you can have something like this that's a little bit complicated and then you can make it simpler until you get a solution that x must be less than 4. An inequality, technically, is something that has one of these sorts of signs but is actually true for all values of x. And this word, inequality, is actually used incorrectly a lot of the time, including in maths textbooks and in exams. A lot of people call both of these types inequalities. Now that's not a big problem, as long as you see one of these and you know what to do with it. In a way, who cares what it's called? But I just figured it would be good to really clear this up. So for an inequality to be true for all values of x, it'd have to be something sort of like this, where you can sub anything you like in here and this is always going to be true. You can't really solve this one. It's pretty much there already, okay? It doesn't get any better than that. So if we're actually solving inequations, it's these sort really that we're talking about. And if you slip into calling them inequalities, that's okay, because textbooks actually call them that too. And you'll find that the word inequality is used for both of these a lot of the time. Incorrectly perhaps, but that's just the way that it goes. So let's now just revise how to solve these things. We've done this before, it should be a revision. Treat it like an equation, do the same thing to both sides, but you need to always flip the sign if you multiply or divide by a negative. It makes sense that you also flip the sign if everything swaps from one side to the other. And one that you might not have known before and you really need to pay attention to now is that you should never multiply or divide both sides by 0. Now, not only should you not divide or multiply both sides by 0, you also need to be careful when you've got an inequality, let's say something like this. You need to make sure that you don't say, well, I'll multiply both sides by x squared minus 4, because as soon as you're doing that, what you're effectively doing is multiplying this whole section by 0, and you're not just multiplying both sides by 0, but you're effectively multiplying one of your unknowns by 0, and that loses solutions. So a simple example here, let's just solve this by balance. Subtracting 8x from both sides gives me minus 5x over here, and adding 7 to both sides is going to give me 25 over here. Now to get x on its own, I need to divide by -5, so I need to divide this side by -5. But because I've divided by a negative, I also need to flip a sign, and that's going to give me this.